UFC Fight Night, Kape versus Almabaev, hottest takes of the card. Last week I had some pretty hot takes with Anthony Fluffy Hernandez being the one to dethrone Khamzat Chimaev, and I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I stand by what I said. I think there's a good chance Chimaev knocks him out in round one, but after that, he's just going to scramble on the ground and survive and move. Really work the gas tank of Khamzat and possibly TKO or submit Chimaev in the later rounds. Again, we have hot takes a lot here, and this card is no different. There are hot takes from the top of the card, the main event, Asu versus Manel Kape, all the way to the bottom, where we do have Luana Carolina, Montana De La Rosa. We're going to get it started with the main event. Manel Kape versus Asu Almabaev. Ladies and gentlemen, my hot take is Manel Kape is the most likely current UFC flyweight to go out and beat Alexandre Pantoja. I'll say that again. Manel Kape, out of all the current UFC flyweights, is the most likely to go out there and dethrone Alexandre Pantoja. Now, Demetrius Johnson, of course, if he were to come back, yeah, I'd probably favor him to go out there and beat Alexandre Pantoja. He is the greatest and the best flyweight of all time for a reason. But if we're looking at everyone else, Royval, Pantoja's already figured out a way to beat Royval. Royval's takedown defense isn't as good as Manel Kape. Brandon Moreno, we've already seen Pantoja win that fight many times. Amir Albazi doesn't really have the striking to win that fight. Kai Kara-France, his wrestling is good, but I do think he's going to get caught eventually with a takedown and get choked out. He's been submitted by Brandon Royval. He lost recently to Moreno on the feet. Kai Kara-France not the one. Tatsuro Taira doesn't really have the striking that I would feel would be able to dominate Pantoja on the feet. I think Pantoja wins that fight in a 5-round affair, getting takedowns, not getting taken down by Taira. Taira's not going to take him down. But Manel Kape, out of everybody here, he has the style to defend the takedowns most effectively, I feel, and outstrike. Kai Kara-France has to wait for that big shot. Manel Kape's not really waiting for a big shot to land on Alexandre Pantoja. He's just throwing punches and kicks and moving and flowing. So he's going to be landing volume, where Kai, if he doesn't land that big shot and he does get taken down, well, he's going to lose that round. If Manel throws what he's throwing, lands them, gets taken down, he could still win the round based on the fact that he's actually landing punches and isn't just waiting back for one big overhand right. And I'm going to stand by this statement until he loses to like an Asu Almabaev. If he loses this weekend, this kind of prediction is completely wrong. If he loses to Tatsuro Taira, again, my prediction is completely wrong. But I really do think Manel Kape has the best shot to go out and beat a guy like Alexandre Pantoja. Asu Almabaev, I'll be straight up with you guys, I think beats like Alex Perez. That's kind of it. Like maybe Amir Albazi in a close one, but out of the top guys up there, I don't think Asu really beats that many of them in the UFC flyweight division. Whereas Manel, I can see him beating a Kai Kara-France. I can see him going out there and beating a Taira, beating an Albazi, beating a Moreno, a Royval, and even beating a Alexandre Pantoja. It's a lofty hot take. Again, I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section, but I think Manel's the one. If he fights Pantoja, I think he puts on the closest run for Pantoja's money. Then we got the co-main event. We got Brundage, Julian Marquez. I don't know if this is a hot take. I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I don't know if this is a hot take. Like, I'm sure plenty of people out there believe this take, but plenty of people are like, no, let's keep them around. They should both be cut. I don't care if Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis, goes out there and knocks out Cody Brundage in a round. Don't really care. I think he should be cut. If Cody Brundage goes out there, starches Julian Marquez in this fight, I still probably lean on the side that he should be cut. He's 30 years old. He's exciting, yes, but he's kind of I don't know what you would call it. He's getting disqualification type wins very often. Very often. Abdulrazak Alhassan and the Jacob Malkunon, that's a little iffy there. He's losing to Cedricus Dumas. Getting out wrestled by him is not a good look. He's exciting, yes, but he's not built for the UFC, I feel you put him on the LFA main event, and anybody that beats him goes into the UFC. Same with Julian Marquez, who is 34 years old. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I really do think both guys should be cut after this fight. Unless, again, Cody maybe goes out there and has a flawless performance. Looks absolutely amazing. Maybe I'll keep him around, but most likely I'm probably going to put both of these guys on who should be cut next list inside of the UFC. Esteban Ribovic and Nasrat Haqparast. This is an interesting one. Very, because these are young guys. Nasrat is super experienced in the UFC. He's got 9 wins, 4 losses. Esteban only is 3-1 in the UFC octagon, so not a lot of experience on his side. But either way, I think the winner here deserves a top 15 shot. That's not a hot take. But I think it'll be Esteban Ribovic. And I'm going to say this right now. This might sound absolutely crazy. I think Esteban wins against like a Benoit Saint-Denis. I think he wins against like a Jalen Turner. I really think the new blood of the UFC lightweight division involves Esteban Ribovic, Fares Ziam, those type of guys. I think these guys will be in the top 15 by the end of the year. Nasrat, probably not, because he's going to lose this fight, have to build himself back up. But I think Esteban wins this fight, and I think he gets a ranked fight later on this year, and I think he's ranked by the end of the year. Again, don't know if that's a hot take, but I think Esteban is going to be ranked by the end of 2025. William Gomes, it's a tough one. 14-2, just a decision nation machine in the UFC featherweight division. Bro does not know how to finish unless he lands a body kick. That's pretty close to a nut shot on Giannis Gamori. I don't know. He's one of... I don't know if I should say this. He's one of the worst fighters in the top 20. Probably the worst fighter in the top 20. If you look at the top 20 guys, you got Sadiq Yusuf, you got Woodson, you got Barboza, you got Cade or Ige, all of these guys. Even look outside of that to the top 25. You got Alice Caceres, Steve Garcia, Nathaniel Wood, Du Ho Choi, John Silva, Chepe. I don't think William should be this high. William is not this good of a fighter. He's very technical, very good kickboxing, has no power, not a lot of finishing ability like a lot of these guys do, and I really think this is going to be the last win he gets. I think he beats Hyder Emil and literally just starts to lose and lose and lose after this. My hot take here is Hyder Emil wins this weekend, gets a nice decision win, maybe gets a shot inside of the top 15 versus a Giga Chikadze, versus a Bryce Mitchell, a Dan Ige type of guy. I think he loses that one and continues to lose. I think he legitimately goes on a 3-fight losing streak after this weekend. I think he beats Hyder Emil, gets a top 15 shot, loses, gets a fighter right outside of the top 15, like a Sadiq Yusuf, loses, then gets a Steve Garcia, a Nathaniel Wood, a Chepe, and then loses that one. And I really think they're pushing him too hard because, he robbed Joe Anderson Brito. I really think sometimes you get a robbery win and it's not actually a good thing, as they're going to move on too fast in their weight class when they're not ready for that upper echelon of UFC fighter. So I think he wins this weekend and goes on a 3-fight losing streak. Danny Barlow, Sam Patterson. How old is Danny? He's 29. He's 29. No hot takes there. Mario Pinto, Austin Lane. Not really any hot takes there. Ricardo Ramos, Chepe Mariscal. Let's look at the featherweight division to figure out, do I have any hot takes here? Dan Ige, Calvin Kattar, Bryce Mitchell. Yeah, I think he's ranked by the end of the year. He's 17-6. He's 32 years old. He misses weight a lot, but if he makes weight on this next fight, gets another finish over Ricardo Ramos, is undefeated in the UFC. That'll be 5 wins. Jack Jenkins, Morgan Charrier, Damon Jackson, Ricardo Ramos. I think he's ranked by the end of the year. Again, is it a hot take? Comment down below. These are definitely hot takes because they're such big underdogs. Lucas Almeida wins as a 2-1 dog, and Andrea Lee wins as a 2-1 dog. Then we got Charles Johnson. This is the last hot take I have for you guys. Charles Johnson is ranked 12th. I think he beats Ramazan Temirov in a very close fight, and just like the fighter we were talking about earlier, just like William Gomes, I think Charles Johnson goes on a significant losing streak after this weekend. I think he beats Ramazan Temirov. I think he wins that. He'll be 12 still. He's not going to move above Tagir. And he'll get a Tim Elliott in June. He'll get a Urseg in June, Asu, and Alex Perez. I think he loses like a lot of those matchups. I think he loses that one, gets a Kaya Sakura, gets a Josh Van rematch. I think he loses again. Then fights another undefeated phenom outside of the UFC, and I think he loses. I think this is going to be the last we see of Charles Johnson. I'm a fan. I really, really am hoping Charles has a great career in the UFC, but he's 34 years old. This is kind of where we see that drop-off in skill for UFC fighters, and he was losing the Josh Van fight. A lot of people thought he lost the Sumadarji fight. Lost to Estevam not really that long ago. I think he beats Temirov. 5 wins in a row. We're like, oh my God, this guy's going places, and loses. I really think he's going to have a losing streak incoming. So losing streak incoming for Charles Johnson and William Gomes. Esteban Ribovic going to be ranked by the end of the year. Julian and Cody should both be cut after this weekend, even though they're in a co-main event. I don't know how that's possible. And then Manel Kape is the most likely man to dethrone champ Alexandre Pantoja. Those are the hot takes for this weekend. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one.